What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. Welcome in to an all-new episode of the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. You can follow the podcast at Pack a Day Podcast. It is Thursday, which means mini camps are officially over. Had the opportunity to attend Wednesday's session. We've got a ton of fun details to get into, and guess what? We are going to get into them right away. Of course, with Wednesday's practice, Matt LaFleur mentioned post-practice that there is no longer a Thursday session. They were scheduled originally to have a Thursday practice. Matt LaFleur decided to give them Thursday off and let everyone go home a day early instead. Mentioned that they did get into the OTAs in the offseason program a couple days earlier than normal. Usually on Thursday, that final minicamp practice, they do a team building activity. Instead, last week they went bowling as a team. So no team building activity on Thursday. Everyone just gets to go home a day early, which I'm sure everyone was super excited about. During practice, people talked about on the sidelines, the media members talked about it feeling like the last day of school. And then Matt LaFleur reiterated in his press conference that there was a little bit of a last day of school feel before everyone gets out for the summer. You could tell, especially in the 2-minute drills, which we'll get into in just a moment, there was a little bit more sloppiness. I'm sure, the Packers themselves were thinking about their time off coming up. They don't get a ton of it. So I'm sure that was in the back of their minds. But overall, it was a interesting, solid, and noteworthy practice, and we've got a ton to go over. There was one new addition to the absent list. Of course, Keyshawn Nixon, Jair Alexander, and Xavier McKinney were still absent. Remember, they were excused from practice for both of these minicamp sessions. Josh Jacobs was added to the list on Wednesday. He was absent as well, and again was excused from practice. The rehab group included Zach Tom, Tyler Davis, Alex Magoo, Kitano Ladapo, Spencer Waggy, Javrion Howard, and Gemmin Green. No new additions. Tucker Kraft still not practicing as well. We did see 2 players go down through the course of practice. Anthony Johnson Jr. looked like he was talking to a trainer, and then when the team activities came up, and remember, he's been a starter the entire time, it was not Anthony Johnson Jr., it was Javon Bullard and Evan Williams. You could see Anthony Johnson Jr. working to the side with a trainer, so it looked like he maybe was a little bit banged up. It looked like he was still cutting off to the side and doing everything he needed to do. Hopefully nothing major. It seemed like nothing major, and hopefully he's good to go for training camp, but it seemed like he had a little bit of an injury. And then on one of the very last plays of practice, Robert Rochelle suffered an injury. We'll talk about that. It looked like he just got the wind knocked out of him, potentially, hopefully. Matt LaFleur said after practice that it didn't seem to be anything severe, anything that they're overly concerned over, so that is good news for Robert Rochelle. Your starters on the offensive line for the day, Rasheed Walker, Elton Jenkins, Josh Myers, Sean Ryan, and Andre Dillard. Again, don't read too much into any of this. They have been rotating these guys pretty significantly. We saw Jordan Morgan immediately get some time at right guard within this group, and then a lot of the other guys working with the twos. Your starting defense for the day, Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith once again at edge, Devontae White and TJ Slayton along the defensive, or interior of the defensive line, I should say. Quay Walker and Isaiah McDuffie were your linebackers. Corey Ballantyne, Carrington Valentine, and Eric Stokes were your corners. Ballantyne was in the slot. Remember, Keyshawn Nixon, Jair Alexander both absent. And then again, Evan Williams and Javon Bullard were your safeties, with McKinney out and Anthony Johnson Jr. seemingly nursing some form of an injury. Your play of the day, I'm going to start with that right away, was actually an interception by Robert Rochelle. Sean Clifford, another interception, his 4th in 2 days. We'll talk about Clifford in just a moment as well, but I thought Robert Rochelle did a really nice job of jumping the route, getting in front of it, and picking off that pass. So a little bit of an interesting day for Rochelle. Had that big interception early, and then, of course, got injured towards the end of practice. But I wouldn't forget about Robert Rochelle. I think we sort of have this idea of the 6 corners that are going to make the team. You've got Jair, Valentine, and Stokes. Then you've got Corey Ballantyne. You've got Keyshawn Nixon. And then Kalen King would be sort of your 6th guy. I think that sort of seems like the natural 6 to make the team. I think that's probably the case, but special teams matters. Special teams very much matters. Robert Rochelle was a core special teamer a season ago. He's made a couple plays now in these OTA and minicamp sessions, and I'm sure he's going to battle Kalen King tooth and nail for that number 6 corner spot. There's not really a ton after Rochelle. It does feel like You have 5 guys that are locks, a bunch of other guys that are going to have to fight really hard to get into the conversation. And then that number 6 potentially between Robert Rochelle and Kalen King, with a nod to Kalen King because he is a recent draft pick, a current draft pick. And Goody doesn't like releasing those, but he has released some 7th round picks even a season ago, releasing Lou Nichols and Grant Dubose before the start of the regular season. They got Dubose back on the practice squad. They did not get Lou Nichols back, but he is willing to do that from time to time. So Rochelle and Kalen King might be fighting it out for that number 6 corner spot come training camp. All right, next person I want to talk about is Jordan Morgan. And we heard from Matt LaFleur after Tuesday's minicamp about how Jordan Morgan needs to basically pick up the mental side of it much better. He talked about all the traits, all the tools that Morgan possesses, but said that they're going to continue to push him. And it was pretty evident, pretty clear from his answer that they're expecting more from Jordan Morgan, that he needs to really understand what's going on. He needs to dive in maybe a little bit more. Like he didn't mince words. He was pretty pointed about Jordan Morgan and what he has to do to kind of continue to up his game. And like they said, or he said, they're going to continue to push Jordan Morgan. Now, to Jordan Morgan's defense, number one, he's still a rookie. This is still extremely early. And they've put him at 4 different spots. It's not like, hey, go out and play left tackle. We're just going to teach you one thing. He's been at left tackle, left guard, and right tackle all over the place. I can only imagine that as a rookie who's played left tackle his entire career in college, you're all of a sudden now coming to the NFL. Expectations are high with you being a first-round pick, and now you're playing 4 different positions along the offensive line, 3 of which you've basically not played, at least since high school at the earliest. He only played left tackle at college. That's probably a lot to take on. But it was another tough day for Jordan Morgan. He gave up a fairly easy sack to Aaron Mosby. Mosby beat him clean and easy. Was a very quick sack for Mosby. And then how did Jordan Morgan follow that up? With a false start right after the play. And those are the sort of things. I don't want to jump too far to any conclusions here. And I don't think anyone else should either. And the truth is, there's probably people that want to confirm their priors one way or the other. If they liked Jordan Morgan going into the draft or liked the draft pick, they're probably saying we're getting ahead of ourselves. The pads aren't even on yet. OTAs, mini camps, all these rookies' heads are swimming. No, we don't need to worry about it whatsoever. For those who didn't like the pick, they're probably saying, see, told you this guy was not going to be any good. Another waste of a first round pick, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. I wouldn't jump to any of those conclusions at this point, either one. I would say that it's been a tough start for Jordan Morgan, that this has not been a quick and easy plug and play like you get sometimes with first round picks. And there's always a different learning curve for different players. Sometimes rookies come in and then you just see it right away. It's just very clear and obvious. Oh, they got it. Like they're going to be an impact player pretty much immediately. And with Jordan Morgan, we haven't seen that. To be fair, on the other side, I still remember the DJ Williams hype to this day. DJ Williams in OTAs and mini camps, 5th round tight end, if I remember correctly, a little bit of an undersized guy, was just tearing it up, was the buzz of OTAs and mini camps, did nothing once the pads came on, and the rest was history. Like it never did anything really as a Packer. Like, so either way, for the players that are looking really good, Marshawn Lloyd, Edgerrin Cooper amongst those, for the players like Jordan Morgan who are struggling, it doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot yet. There are plenty of Packers who have had some early struggles in OTAs and minicamps as a rookie and gone on to have fantastic careers. And we just talked about DJ Williams being the opposite version of that. But like I said, it has been a struggle. I have seen a lot of false starts from Jordan Morgan. I have seen too many pressures from Jordan Morgan. And like I said, it has not been this very easy plug and play, put him in there, and he's just a very clear and obvious big-time player starter from the get-go. That's not what we've seen. So Jordan Morgan is going to have to really dive into this playbook over these next 4 to 5 weeks, familiarize himself with everything, left tackle, left guard, right tackle, everything that he might be asked to do. He's going to have to probably, obviously continue to stay in shape and maybe work with an offensive line coach over these next few weeks to continue his progress. And he needs to come back to training camp ready to try to earn a starting spot on this line. I do not think it's a given. I do not think it's a guarantee that he is just your day one starter no matter what. I think these 5 guys that were basically starters a season ago, your 4 clear starters, and then Sean Ryan are going to fight tooth and nail to keep those spots. And if it were me right now, game this week, I would do Rasheed Walker, Elton Jenkins, Josh Myers, Sean Ryan, and Zach Tom. I wouldn't probably change anything, and Jordan Morgan would probably be my guy off the bench. That's just what I've seen so far. Again, don't jump to any conclusions either way. Same with the positive stuff. There's a lot of time to go. Training camp, preseason, family night, all of those are going to be a much better exposure for all of these players to see where these guys are at. But for Jordan Morgan, bit of a tough start, and he's going to need a little bit of a bounce back come training camp. We had a variety of impressive catches throughout the day. I thought Dontavian Wicks had a really nice catch. He went up and got one. It was early. It was probably like a 10 or 11 yard out. And I think all of us on the sidelines thought the ball was coming to us. And then you just sometimes forget like the literal freak ability of some of these guys, or all of them really. And Wicks just goes up and it's like he's climbing a ladder, easy, plucks the ball out of the air, turns, gets out of bounds, easy 11 to 12 yard pickup. Like we're all of us along the sidelines are expecting that ball to just go over and it's like an incomplete pass. And then nope, there's Dontavian Wicks going up to get it. I thought that was an impressive catch. Grant Dubose had one that caught a lot of praise from the sidelines. It was just a slant play. Again, probably 11, 12 yard play. But I can't remember if it was Pratt or Clifford that threw it high on a slant. And Dubose just absolutely skied to go get it. I mean, we're talking some real Skywalker stuff that he went up and got it. And like I said, a lot of praise from his teammates. That was probably the most impressive catch that I've seen from Grant Dubose over these past 2 off seasons. And then Marshawn Lloyd. Marshawn Lloyd continues to impress. They're running the screenplay, and it gets a little bit broken down. This is another play where Jordan Morgan actually got a little bit beat on the inside. But whoever the quarterback was at the time got rid of it, and it was a little bit awry, and Marshawn Lloyd just plucks it one-handed out of the air. That was impressive piece number 1. But then TJ Slayton's like right next to him. Now, I get if we're going to put Marshawn Lloyd and TJ Slayton in a race, not a fair fight. Understood. Understand it 1,000,000%. But Slayton's coming down on him, and he's making that one-handed catch, and he just turns on a dime and like just goes. And that acceleration, that immediate acceleration, like he just leaves TJ Slayton in the dust. And it's, again, if it's a one-on-one race, again, not fair, but Slayton's already has momentum coming towards Marshawn Lloyd. Marshawn Lloyd has to one-hand catch it, re-catch himself, and then he just, in it, like I said, that 0 to 100 ability that he has, he just gets going, and he's just easily separated from Slayton. It was a really, really impressive play. I don't know, maybe he had to be there, but he continues to be one of the standouts early from this rookie class. And as I've said a million times already, just so excited to see him with the pads on. I think a lot of people, when they get their first glimpse at him in preseason and training camp, are going to be really impressed with what Marshawn Lloyd is able to bring to the table. Let's talk about the offenses. First of all, the number 1 offense. I think it hasn't been explosive over OTAs and mini camps, but they've been in a pretty good rhythm overall. And I thought that continued today. I thought Jordan Love and these number 1 wide receivers, tight ends, running backs were once again in a really good rhythm. Romeo Doubs is another player that I want to talk about. I hear a lot of times like that Romeo Doubs is kind of the odd man out. Dontavian Wicks is a really fun player that we're all excited about. Jaden Reed, same thing. We know the upside with Christian Watson. We're all, myself included, enamored with Bo Melton. Even Malik Heath gets some buzz here and there. And I think a lot of people want to have this maybe natural ability or natural feel to just put Romeo Doubs as like the odd guy out. Like he's going to be the 4th guy. I do not expect that. He's arguably going to be the guy. And I know that there was some, statistics recently that showed some inefficiencies in throwing to Romeo Doubs. But Matt LaFleur was effusive in his praise of Romeo Doubs and what he's done this offseason. He continues to get better. He looks like he has a lot better command of this offense overall than I've ever seen him over the past 2 seasons. Command is like a quarterback term, but like he's in full understanding of what this offense wants him to be and what he can be in this offense. I thought he's had a really nice OTA in minicamp. Thought he continued that today. Multiple catches in this specific practice. And it's just all clean. It's natural. He had another play down the field where It would have been more of like a contested catch jump ball opportunity, but maybe had a quarter of a step. And unfortunately, Love just kind of missed him by about 5 yards. I think it was to start the 2-minute drill. But I really have been impressed with Dobbs. Do not take him and put him on that number 4, number 5 wide receiver line. He's going to get a lot of playing time. He's going to get a ton of opportunities. And he's kind of that guy that in some go-to situations, Jordan Love is going to look to. And I think rightfully so. He's shown himself. He continues to get better. And I really hope and believe that we're going to get even the best yet of Romeo Dobbs in 2024. All right, the second team offense, as much as the first team offense has been in rhythm, the second team offense has not been in rhythm. And that really kind of starts with Sean Clifford. I thought that first practice for Clifford was pretty good. And ever since then, he just has not been able to get in any sort of rhythm. Had 3 interceptions in the first minicamp practice. Another one, as we mentioned, to Robert Rochelle in Wednesday's session. I thought he handled it perfectly. He said he got benched on national TV in college. He knows how to handle adversity, and he loves to learn from those things. He will. I still really like Sean Clifford as a backup QB. I do very much believe that the Sean Clifford, Michael Pratt battle in training camp could be a ton of fun. Both of those guys are going to have to bring it, and I'm interested to see how that kind of plays out. Pratt took care of the ball a lot better than Sean Clifford did. Pratt, I think, had more touchdowns than Sean Clifford did. And Pratt's the rookie. So I think I think a lot of us may be hoping a little bit more for Sean Clifford in year 2. I don't think we saw it yet. It's another one where I'm sure people want to maybe confirm their priors. And if they didn't like Sean Clifford and thought he was a reach in the 5th round, they're saying, look, it showed you. Like he can't do it. I wouldn't put it there. Matt was, again, very, very much praising Sean Clifford and his attitude that he brings to the field every day. Says he attacks every practice like he's the starting quarterback. Those are the type of things that go a long way. But I do think the number 2s in particular, and that goes for everyone. It's not just Clifford. It's the offensive line. It's the receivers. It's everyone. I thought they've struggled a lot more against this Packers defense. And I think there's a lot of times where, especially with a new defense getting put in, regardless of that, I should say, the defense at this point of the season a lot of times is ahead of the offense, and it takes the offense a little bit more time to get in rhythm. We'll see how that goes into training camp. But I thought overall the ones beat the ones offense felt more in rhythm and maybe beat the ones defense a little bit more often. Thought the number 2's defense has had a lot more success against Clifford and that number 2 offense. Let's talk some kicking competition. We saw a lot more special teams and a lot more kicking in Wednesday session. I'll let Paul Brettel take this one. He charted all of the kickers. He said per his numbers, all of the kickers were 6 for 7 on the day. So we still have yet to see, many perfect days from some of these kickers, but 6 for 7, pretty good overall. Multiple 50-yarders were attempted, including in that final period where all of the teammates were surrounding them, jumping up and down, spraying water at them. Music is blaring, and both kicks over 50 yards. Podlesny went 1 of 2, and then the other 2 kickers both went 2 for 2 on the clutch kicks. So that was good to see. You did see, I think, some improvement in Anders Carlson as OTAs and minicamp went along. They rotated long snappers through. Bowden, it seemed to be working with Podlesny, and then it looked like it was Orsic with the other 2, Joseph and Anders Carlson, a little bit more. And then when asked about it post practice, Matt LaFleur basically asked about whether they would keep 3 kickers going into training camp. He said that would still be determined, said that would ultimately be Goody's decision. But the way, if you were reading between the lines, I think it felt like probably not going to keep 3 or maybe 2. Maybe they want to bring in one of the UFL kickers or bring somebody else in and maybe try something different for whoever, quote unquote, lost that battle over the course of the past few weeks in OTAs and mini camps. Maybe they churn the last one and bring in a new one. That could easily be the case as well. But it feels like there will be some change at that kicker position, and it won't be Joseph, Podlesny, and Anders Carlson going into camp. Just my guess, pure guesstimate on my point, on the part of me, but we'll see what happens, and we'll see if they do make any changes there. One more time for this fourth practice in a row, I want to spend a little bit more time talking about Brenton Cox. He, to me, has been a player that seemingly has taken a second-year jump, with the caveat, still no pads. But he looks far more physical. He looks faster. He looks bigger. He looks stronger. He looks just flat out better. And the way that he is attacking offensive linemen, it reminds me, and don't take this too far, it reminds me of how Rashawn Gary plays. Like it legitimately reminds me just a bowling ball full of knives. Like he's coming at you full pace. He's going to attack you head on. He's going to attack you with fast hands. He's going to attack you with power, and he's coming right at your face. And I've been really impressed with that mentality. Had a really nice run stop, had a couple nice pass rushes again. He looks significantly better to me. I asked Matt in the presser afterwards, and I said, hey, to the very untrained eye, it looks like he's taking a step. And Matt basically said that he's always been a good pass rusher, but they are now trying to integrate him a little bit more and kind of praise his run defense a little bit more. So he's still got a ways to go to kind of earn any sort of spot there. But personally, just my untrained eyes, I feel like Brenton Cox has taken a pretty significant jump from year 1 to year 2. What that means moving forward, we'll have to see. But really like what I've seen so far, and think he has a really great opportunity to make a push for a 5th defensive end spot on the 53-man roster. Let's go through some 2-minute drills really quick here. So here was the situation for the 3 2-minute drills to end practice. Minute 18 remaining, 1 timeout, 1st and 10, down by 2 at your own 25-yard line. So you get the ball at your own 25, you're losing by 2, you need a field goal to win. 1st and 10, 1 timeout, 1:18 remaining. Here was the number one's series of events. First down was the play downfield to Romeo Doubs that I talked about. They took a shot down the field right away. I think it was Doubs and Valentine on the play, and Valentine had good coverage. Whoever the corner was, like I said, I think it was Valentine, had good coverage on the play. Doubs maybe had a quarter or an eighth of a step. I would have liked to have seen the ball beyond him because it would have been interesting to me if Doubs could have went up and got that. I think it would have been a fun, I think it maybe would have been a 60-40 ball for Doubs, but Love overthrew it by about 5 yards. Wasn't particularly close. Doubs didn't even have the opportunity to dive or make a leaping attempt or anything like that. So just incomplete. On the next play, Love tried to go to Dontavian Wicks over the middle, was behind him. Quay Walker made a diving interception attempt. Was a pretty athletic play from Quay. Got his hands on it, but could not hold on to it. Fell incomplete. A little bit of a tough start to that 2-minute drill for Jordan, but Jordan came back on 3rd down, hit Jaden Reed for a 1st down, and kept the drive going. Then he came back and hit a really nice deep out route to Luke Musgrave for about 12 to 14 yards, and Musgrave was also able to get out of bounds on the play. McDuffie was in coverage. Next pass was batted down at the line of scrimmage. Love then scrambled for 7 yards, and they called their timeout. Love to Doubs for a 1st down. Clock ticked over the middle of the field. Jordan Love got everyone up to the line, and they clocked the ball. Was down already to the 21-yard line. No timeouts left, and they were basically good to go. They just needed, I think it was 22 seconds left at that point. They just kind of needed to, center it and get ready for that game-winning field goal, except they come out in an illegal formation. It's a 5-yard penalty. They immediately have a false start after that. Another 5-yard penalty, pushing them back. Those 2 plays combined 10 yards. They hand off the ball inside to Marshawn Lloyd, and then they get back up to the line of scrimmage, and the offensive line false starts again. And it was under 10 seconds left in a game. That's dead. Game over. They had the false start, under 10 seconds left, no timeouts. That's going to run the clock, and the defense was calling for it. I think they wanted to get the kickers on the field to attempt the kick, so they allowed Jordan Love and the offense to spike the ball with 2 seconds left and then attempt the field goal, which Podlesny made. So on paper, it would show that the offense got the win by kicking. It would have, because of the false start, under 10 seconds, it would have been a runoff, and the defense would have won that session. Just way, way, way too sloppy at the end of that 2-minute drill with 2 false starts in a legal formation. They immediately moved down the field, got to the 21, put themselves in position to succeed, and then just a series of unforced errors really completely derailed the drive. And like I said, should have forced the offense to lose and the defense to win. The number 2s came up next. As I mentioned, it's been a little bit of a struggle for the 2s. Clifford hit Stanley for 6 yards. Clifford then was sacked. I couldn't tell who. And then Jonathan Ford batted down a pass at the line of scrimmage. They brought pressure on 4th down. Edgerrin Cooper got there. Sean Clifford actually did a really nice job of rolling out and seemingly avoiding the sack from Cooper. Rolled to his left, threw across his body, hit the I couldn't tell if it was a receiver or tight end, but hit them along the sidelines. Unfortunately, they did not get enough yardage to pick up the 1st down. That offense went 4 and out, and the defense got the win in that period. Pratt got the final 2-minute period. Pratt to Heath for a 1st down. Pratt to Heath dropped on a slant. Probably a good thing. Was only going to be a few yards and the clock was going to tick. Next play, he checks it down to Henry Pearson. Clock ticks after that, only a couple yard pickup. He swings it out to Emmanuel Wilson on the next play. Loss of yards. Clock ticks again. They have to use their timeout. Pratt to DuBose. Tough to tell if he actually caught it, but they ruled that he caught it and he got out of bounds. Another false start by the offense. Check down to Merriweather, which went nowhere, and the clock ticked after that. And they're in like no man's land. And then Pratt comes back and fires an absolute seed to Bo Melton down the sideline. Now, it was one of these cover 2 shots, and it was Robert Rochelle and Benny Sapp and Bo Melton in between. I couldn't tell. It didn't look like Rochelle got any sort of fingertip on it or anything, but maybe he did. It got to Bo Melton. Bo Melton could not hang on. I don't know if he was anticipating that Rochelle was going to bat it away, or if, again, Rochelle just got a slight tick on it and it just altered it enough. But Melton could not come down with it. It was a beautiful attempt. You could not have put the ball in a better place. And again, maybe Rochelle got a fingertip on it. If so, tip your cap to Rochelle. If not, probably one that Bo Melton needs to come down with and just couldn't. Tough to tell because it was bang, bang. But like I said, Pratt put it right where it needed to. Unfortunately, that was the play where Robert Rochelle went down injured after the play, stayed down for a little while. And I think because of that, they just said, that's it. We're gonna be done. So they didn't run another play. It was going to be a long 4th down, I think, anyway. And then they went right into those final kicker periods where everyone, again, was around him and throwing water on him and everything. So that was basically the end of practice. Some other miscellaneous takeaways. The kick group, the kick return and kickoff group, were working on squib kicks. And if you remember our conversation with Justice Mosqueda last week, we talked about how the squib kick could be utilized if it bounces inbounds and then goes out of the end zone. You only get it up at the 20. So I have a feeling that teams are going to try to squib it a little bit more. And they were working with Anders on where to place the ball with the squib, and then on the returners to make sure that they got their hands on the ball and could start returning it right away and not have it where they would get it at the 20-yard line, because that's kind of the last thing that you want in that situation. So both the kick return team and the kickoff team working on the squib kicks. Dontavian Wicks got some time as a gunner. Those releases off the line of scrimmage as a receiver served him well. Thought he looked impressive doing it. As to whether or not Green Bay will want to do that in games or not, we will have to see. But that might be an advantage of having 5-6 wide receivers, is that you might be able to use some of those guys on teams. And if there is an injury, you've got another 5-6 guys or 5 guys that can go out and still play. It might be a little risky if Wicks becomes the really great wide receiver we think he can become. Those special teams opportunities probably become less and less, but thought he had an impressive showing as a gunner, at least on a random Wednesday minicamp practice. We saw a behemoth battle between Caleb Jones and Jonathan Ford. Caleb Jones won this round, completely annihilated Jonathan Ford and drove him to the ground. Not in a bad way, just kind of got to the side of him, was able to kind of push, and Jonathan Ford just kind of tipped over like a big redwood. But Caleb Jones wins that battle on this occasion. Rashawn Gary absolutely blasted Andre Dillard, and Andre Dillard ended up on the ground. Special rush from Gary, but Dillard's got to do a better job of holding his anchor there. Deslin Alexander had a sack against Luke Tenuta. Keyshawn Banks was back working outside after working on the interior on Tuesday's practice. Also showed up with a sack on the outside. And then Wes Hodkovitz noted that he had charted Kenneth Odumegwu for another sack on the day as well. That I didn't see. Maybe that was the one that I mentioned earlier where I couldn't see who got the sack. But either way, he had Odumegwu with another sack. And it's been an impressive couple days for the International Pathway Program player, who is still very young and massively talented if he can figure out how to play football after basically never doing it his entire life. In the post-practice presser from Matt LaFleur, as mentioned, he was very effusive in his praise for Romeo Doubs, and he told a great Edgerrin Cooper story that I kind of want to go over, and I'm obviously paraphrasing here. I think this is one of the cooler takeaways, basically saying that they called a play on offense specifically to attack Edgerrin Cooper. I'm sure it was probably some sort of, I know they ran like a fake end around on one play. They did a bunch of play action, but I'm sure it was a ton of eye candy for Cooper. And they basically, I think Matt knew that rookie linebackers very much struggle with this type of play and will take the bait and go with it. And he basically told the story that they called a play to specifically attack Edgerrin Cooper, knowing that he would probably bite on it. He didn't bite. He handled it perfectly. And so much so, LaFleur was so impressed that he went to the coaching staff after and said, did you guys prep him for that play and what to do in that situation? They're like, no. He's like, he just picked up on it and he knew it. And maybe that was an instinct thing, or maybe that was something that he picked up in the playbook of what he's supposed to do with a key in that situation. But either way, Matt LaFleur specifically called a play to beat Edgerrin Cooper. Rookie in his second minicamp practice, did not bite, did not fall for it, did exactly what he was supposed to do. When you have a player that is the freak athletic ability that Edgerrin Cooper possesses, and you add that to the equation, look the heck out. That is an impressive start and an impressive story for Edgerrin Cooper. And then last but not least, some more players who are absolutely in love with this Jeff Hafley defense. Quay Walker, Rashawn Gary, and Preston Smith, the latest to be over the top in their praise for Jeff Hafley in this defense. Now, you can be devil's advocate here or be a cynic and say, what are these guys supposed to say? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the scheme so far. Think that we need to do something different. Of course not. But the demeanor and the way in which these players are talking about Jeff Hafley's defense, you don't need to read between the lines. You can flat out tell these guys are beyond excited to be playing in this defense. And listen, that is 90% of the battle, especially at this point for new coordinators getting that buy-in. And he very clearly has it from everyone that has talked about it so far. And again, the latest, Quay Walker, Rashawn Gary, and Preston Smith, all extremely over the top in all the best ways about this new Jeff Hafley defense. Color me excited moving forward for what this defense can be. That's it. Mini camps are done. That's all we had to go over for today. A fun and intriguing practice. OTAs, mini camps, I thought were really well done. I really liked how they attacked it, kind of ramped up through the course of the 5 practices that were open to the media. Basically did walk through and more 7-on-7s, then progressed to 2-minute drills, then 2-minute in team, and then more competitive periods in the mini camp. I love the emphasis on the fundamentals that they put into these last handful of weeks. I think that's going to pay off in the long term. And the vibe around this team remains immaculate. Cannot wait for camp. Cannot freaking wait for training camp. It'll be here before we know it. We still got a ton of stuff to talk about this offseason that I can't wait to go over with you guys. So make sure to like, subscribe, comment, give those 5-star reviews. Check out those Pack a Day Podcast YouTube memberships. I'm not going anywhere. We've got 365 days of coverage. And like I said, I've already got a notebook full of ideas that we're going to be talking about over these next 40 days before we get into training camp. But until then, that's going to do it for me right now. Shout out to Most Hated Minnesotan, PJ Wynn, John Wild, Shea Dad, Brendan Paletta, Jennifer Wright, Boom Handle, Donna Lee, Lori Lord, Baby QB, David McCluskey, Donald Decker, Bremen, Don Miller, Alex Huang, Arnaldo Espinoza, and Dan Gessford. I will see you guys tomorrow. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.